Driving home with my wife, I got a message that changed everything. It revealed a sinister, hidden truth. Life doesn't give you a warning when it's about to pull the rug out from under you. 1 second, you're moving forward, convinced that everything is steady and predictable, and the next, reality swings a wrecking ball straight to the foundation you thought was solid. I never expected my moment to come in the middle of an ordinary drive home. I was behind the wheel, my wife sitting beside me in the passenger seat, her laughter still echoing from the event we had just left. It had been a corporate gathering, one of those polished affairs where people put on their best smiles, sip expensive drinks, and pretend that office politics don't exist. I had been in a good mood, or at least I thought I had been. Danny was glowing, her dark auburn hair tumbling over her shoulders, her fitted dress clinging to her curves in a way that had made her the center of attention all night. She had always been social, effortlessly charming, making conversation with anyone and everyone. I admired that about her, until tonight. Somewhere between the jokes, the clinking glasses, and the lingering glances, a gnawing sensation had started to form in my gut. I told myself I was imagining things. I had no reason to doubt her. We had been married for 9 years, solid years. I trusted her. At least I thought I did. Then my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen, not expecting anything unusual. But as soon as I read the message, my blood ran cold. Does it hurt yet? That was it. Just 4 words. No name, no explanation. But something about them sent a chill straight through me. I frowned, gripping the phone tighter. Everything okay? Danny asked, her voice smooth, casual. I looked at her for a brief second, searching for something. Anything out of place. But she looked the same as she had all evening. Poised and radiant. A woman with no worries in the world. I forced a nod. Yeah, just work. I turned my eyes back to the road, but my mind was spinning. I didn't recognize the number. Maybe it was spam. Maybe it was a prank. But my gut told me otherwise. A second later, another message appeared. Check your wife's phone if you have the guts. My stomach clenched. I swallowed hard, keeping my face neutral. The last thing I wanted was for Danny to sense that something was off. I couldn't let her see the panic creeping into my veins. I forced myself to breathe evenly, to think rationally. Maybe this was nothing. Maybe someone had the wrong number. But deep down, I already knew. I knew this wasn't random. My hands tightened around the wheel as we drove in silence. Danny scrolled on her phone, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. Or maybe she was aware, and just pretending like she had been all night. The longer I stared at her, the more I noticed things I had ignored before. The way she angled her screen slightly away from me. The occasional smirk playing at her lips as she typed. I was being paranoid, right? Then came the third message. She was all over him tonight. You really didn't see it. A slow, suffocating dread spread through me. My chest tightened. My mouth went dry. Danny's laughter from earlier suddenly felt like an echo from another life. A life I wasn't sure was even real anymore. I had 2 choices. I could ignore this. Pretend I never saw the messages. Go home and sleep next to my wife like nothing had changed. Or I could find out the truth. And something told me I wouldn't like what I found. I forced my grip to loosen on the steering wheel, my knuckles aching from how tightly I'd been holding on. The air inside the car felt heavier now, thick with unspoken words and my own silent suspicions. Danny was still scrolling on her phone, completely at ease, completely unaware. Or maybe she wasn't unaware. Maybe she was pretending, just like she had been all night. The messages had planted a seed of doubt in my mind, and now it was growing at an uncontrollable rate. My gut twisted as I replayed the night's events, searching for signs I had missed. The glances, the small touches, the way she had laughed just a little too hard at a joke I hadn't even heard. I swallowed hard. I had to be careful. If I confronted her now, she'd have time to lie, to twist things, to make me feel crazy. No, I needed proof. I glanced at her phone in her hand, the sleek black case resting against her fingers. She wasn't the type to be careless, but there was a chance, just a chance, that whatever I needed to see was still open. Hey, I said, keeping my voice light. Can you check what time my mom's flight gets in tomorrow? I think I left the email open on my phone. She turned to me, her eyes slightly narrowed, searching my face for something. Suspicion? Guilt? I couldn't tell. You can check later, she said, slipping her phone into her lap. That was all I needed. If she had nothing to hide, she would have handed me her phone without a second thought. My heart pounded against my ribs, but I forced myself to keep my breathing steady. I had been right. Something was going on, and I had to see it for myself. I exhaled slowly and kept driving, focusing on the darkened roads ahead. A plan was forming in my mind, something desperate, something reckless. I just needed to wait for the right moment. We pulled into the driveway. Danny let out a small sigh and stretched her arms, completely unaware of the battle raging inside me. I need a shower, she said, unbuckling her seatbelt. It was hot in that place. I nodded, keeping my voice steady. Yeah, you go ahead. She stepped out of the car, her heels clicking against the pavement, and disappeared into the house. I sat there for a few seconds, gripping the steering wheel, my heartbeat hammering in my ears. This was my chance. I waited until I heard the distant hum of the shower, then slipped into the house. My heartbeat roared in my ears as I moved quickly through the hallway and into the bedroom. Her purse was on a nightstand, unzipped. I hesitated for only a second before reaching inside. My fingers closed around the smooth, cold surface of her phone. I had it. I turned the screen on. My mind raced. I had seen her type in her passcode before. Quick, practice motions she never thought twice about. I had an idea what the numbers might be, but if I guessed wrong too many times, I'd be locked out completely. I inhaled sharply, my hands slightly shaking as I entered the numbers I thought were right. The screen blinked. My stomach churned. I opened her messages first, scrolling through the most recent ones. Most of them were harmless. Friends, family, co-workers. Then I saw a name that made my blood run cold. I tapped on the thread. And as soon as the messages appeared, I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Nate, I couldn't keep my hands off you tonight. Danny, you drive me insane. Nate, you're so bad. What if he had seen? Danny, would it really matter? He has no idea. He never will. The words blurred together as my vision darkened around the edges. My breath came in short, sharp bursts. My hands clenched the phone, so tightly my knuckles turned white. Nate was my co-worker. Nate had been at the event. Nate had stood right next to me, laughing, drinking, shaking my hand like nothing was wrong. And all the while, my wife had been sneaking around with him behind my back. I could hear the water still running in the bathroom, the sound muffled through the walls. She had no idea I knew. Not yet. I had a choice to make. I could pretend I never saw any of this. I could go to bed, act normal, and let her keep living her double life. Or I could confront her the second she stepped out of that shower, demand the truth, watch her scramble for excuses. But the rage burning inside me told me neither of those options would be enough. No, I needed something bigger. I needed a plan, and I needed it fast. I stood in our dimly lit bedroom, gripping Danny's phone like it was a ticking bomb. My breath was shallow, my pulse erratic. The messages on the screen were burned into my mind, each one a fresh stab straight to the gut. She had been laughing with me all night, kissing my cheek, wrapping her arm around mine. But it was all a lie, a performance. The real her, the woman I had trusted for nearly a decade, had been sneaking stolen touches, whispers, and God knows what else with Nate. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to think. I couldn't explode. Not yet. Not until I had everything I needed. The water was still running in the shower. I had minutes, maybe less. I took a deep breath and scrolled further up in their messages. There was more. Nate, next time we won't have to hide. It'll just be us. Danny, I can't wait. I hate sneaking around. Nate, soon. Just hold on. My stomach twisted violently. Soon? What the hell did that mean? I scrolled faster, my fingers shaking. Then I saw something that made my blood run ice cold. A hotel reservation. Tomorrow. A suite booked in her name. I inhaled sharply. The pieces were snapping together too fast, too painfully. Danny wasn't just cheating. She was planning something, and I wasn't supposed to find out. The shower suddenly shut off, jolted me back to reality. I had seconds. I quickly placed her phone back in her purse, exactly how I found it, and moved to my side of the bed. My chest felt like it was going to explode from the pressure, but I forced my expression to remain calm, controlled. She couldn't suspect a thing. A few moments later, Danny stepped into the bedroom, wrapped in a towel. She smiled, and for the first time I realized it wasn't a smile meant for me. I had seen that exact look on her face earlier at the event. Back then, I had told myself it was nothing, a trick of the light, a misunderstanding. Now I knew better. She had been smiling at him. "How was your shower?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She stretched, letting out a satisfied sigh. "Much needed." She crossed the room, her bare feet patting against the hardwood floor. I watched her movements closely, analyzing every shift, every glance. Had she always been this distant? Had I been so blind? She climbed into bed beside me, pulling the covers over herself. "You're quiet." I forced a small chuckle. "Just tired." She hummed in response and reached for her phone. I pretended not to care as she picked it up, quickly checking her notifications. A flicker of something passed over her face, but it was gone before I could decipher it. Was she waiting for him to text? Was she disappointed that he hadn't? The thought made my hands curl into fists beneath the covers. I turned onto my side, staring at the ceiling. My mind was racing. Tomorrow. She was meeting him tomorrow. I could stop this before it happened. But how? If I confronted her now, she would lie. If I accused her without proof, she would turn around on me. No, I had to be smart. I had to let her think she was getting away with it. I had to see it with my own eyes. And then I would decide what to do. Beside me, Danny let out a content sigh and nestled into her pillow. Moments later, her breathing slowed, deepened. She was asleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I had already lost everything. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Sleep never came. I lay in bed all night, staring at the ceiling, my mind tangled in a storm of emotions. Rage, pain, disbelief. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Danny's messages. Her laughter at the event. The way Nate had clapped me on the back, like we were friends, like I was a fool. By the time morning arrived, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to let her slip away without consequences. Danny stirred beside me, stretching her arms before lazily reaching for her phone. I kept my breathing even, pretending to be asleep as she unlocked the screen. My heart pounded in my chest as I listened, waiting. Then, a quiet vibration. A message. She shifted in bed, the soft glow of her screen illuminating her face. Even in the dim morning light, I could see the small smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. She wasn't texting me. I forced myself to stay still, to keep playing the part of the oblivious husband. A few minutes later, she slipped out of bed, tiptoeing across the room as if she were afraid to wake me. I heard the soft click of the bathroom door, then the faint sound of the shower turning on. I opened my eyes. Time to move. I carefully reached for her phone, hoping she had been careless enough to leave it unlocked. My pulse spiked as I tilted the screen toward me. Locked? Of course. But I didn't need her phone anymore. I already knew where she was going. The hotel. She thought she was clever, setting up a meeting in broad daylight, acting as if today was just another normal day. But she had no idea that I knew. I needed to get there before she did. Danny emerged from the bathroom a few minutes later, a towel wrapped around her body, steam following in her wake. She flashed me a small smile. Morning. I rubbed my eyes, sitting up slowly, forcing a yawn. Morning. She pulled open the closet, casually flipping through outfits like it was any other day. "What's your plan for today?" I asked, my voice even. "Oh, you know," she said, glancing at me over her shoulder. "Just some errands. Maybe a coffee with Liz." Liz. Her human alibi. I nodded, swallowing the bile rising in my throat. "Sounds nice." She gave me another smile, a liar smile, and continued getting dressed. 30 minutes later, she kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong, like she wasn't about to meet another man in a hotel room. "I'll be back later," she said, grabbing her purse. "Love you." The words hit me like a slap. I watched her walk out the door, listened to the sound of her heels clicking on the pavement, the car engine turning over. I stood there in the silence that followed, my fists clenched at my sides. This ends today. I arrived at the hotel before her. It was an upscale place, the kind where people go when they don't want to be seen. I sat in the car, watching the entrance, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. And then, at exactly 11:15 a.m., she arrived. Danny stepped out of her car, wearing a dress I had never seen before, tight, low-cut, meant for someone other than me. She pulled out her phone and tapped a message. A few seconds later, my stomach lurched as I saw him. Nate. He emerged from a different car, looking relaxed, confident. He wasn't worried. He wasn't sneaking around like someone afraid of getting caught, because he thought I had no idea. They met near the entrance. She smiled up at him, and he leaned in, whispering something in her ear. She laughed, touched his arm, the way she used to touch mine. I gritted my teeth, my vision narrowing. They disappeared into the hotel lobby. I sat there for a moment, forcing myself to breathe. Then I stepped out of the car. This wasn't about blind rage. This wasn't about an impulsive decision. No, this had to be done right. I walked inside, keeping my distance as I watched them approach the elevator. The doors opened. They stepped in together. And just as they turned, just as Danny reached for Nate's hand, her eyes met mine. The color drained from her face. She froze. Her body went rigid, her fingers slipping from his grasp. Nate, oblivious, hit the button for their floor, not realizing that everything had changed. The door slid shut, but it was too late. She knew, and she knew I wasn't going to let this go. I stood in the lobby, the hum of conversations and the soft chime of elevator doors barely registering in my mind. The cold marble floor beneath my feet felt unreal, like I wasn't really standing there, like I was watching this play out from somewhere outside my own body. I could have stormed up to the front desk, demanded their room number, made a scene. But that wasn't how I wanted this to go. No, I wanted her to know exactly how badly she had messed up. I walked toward the receptionist's desk, keeping my expression neutral. The young woman behind the counter barely glanced up as she greeted me. "Welcome to the Coventry Suites." Checking in, I forced a small smile. Actually, my wife just went upstairs, but I forgot the room number. Danny, blonde, red dress. Her fingers tapped on the keyboard. "Yes." She checked in under. She hesitated, glancing at me. "I'm sorry, sir. I can't give out room numbers for guest privacy." I exhaled, pretending to be amused. "Of course. Hotel policy. I understand. Could I at least send something up to the room? A little surprise?" That made her pause. "That's doable," she said slowly. "What would you like sent?" I pulled out my wallet, slipping a crisp bill onto the counter, keeping my movements casual. A bottle of champagne. And then, lowering my voice, "Just confirm which suite I should send it to so I know it gets there." She hesitated, then checked the screen again. "Suite 1109. I clenched my jaw. Perfect. I took the stairs. 11 flights. My legs burned, my breath came in short, measured exhales. But I didn't stop. This was it. When I reached the 11th floor, I stood at the end of the hallway, staring at the door. 1109. I could hear muffled voices. Laughter. I ran a hand over my face, grounded myself. I was shaking, but I wouldn't lose control. Not yet. I needed proof. I took out my phone and started recording. I moved closer, pressing my ear against the door. And then I heard her voice. Soft, low, intimate. A version of her I hadn't heard in years. "You shouldn't have kissed me in the lobby," she giggled. "Couldn't help myself." Nate's voice rumbled. "You're irresistible." A long silence, then a quiet moan. I gritted my teeth so hard my jaw ached. I could feel my hands trembling, not with fear, not with sadness, but with something deeper, a betrayal so profound it made my entire body reject the reality in front of me. I kept recording. Every whisper, every touch, every sound. This wasn't just for me. This was going to destroy her. I knocked. The noises inside stopped instantly. A second passed. Then another. Just a second, came Danny's voice. I stood motionless, listening as someone fumbled around, probably trying to cover up what couldn't be hidden. I imagined her pressing a finger to Nate's lips, shushing him, fixing her hair, straightening her dress. The door cracked open just an inch. Danny's face appeared. Her blue eyes were slightly wide, lips parted. For a moment, just a brief, perfect moment, she didn't recognize me. She thought I was room service. Then, her entire body stiffened. Her pupils dilated. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. I tilted my head, offering her the smallest, coldest smile. Surprise. The blood drained from her face. I pushed the door open with ease. She hadn't locked it properly in her rush to greet me. Nate was still by the bed, shirtless, a stunned expression frozen on his smug face. Danny whipped around, hands trembling as she reached for explanations that wouldn't come. Wait, this is what it looks like. I laughed, actually laughed. Not what it looks like? I stepped inside, taking my time. So what is it then? Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came. Nate cleared his throat, shifting awkwardly. Look, man. I cut him off with a glare. So sharp it shut him up instantly. Then, slowly, deliberately, I pulled out my phone and hit play. The audio of the betrayal filled the room. Danny's breath hitched. Her face twisted into something between horror and shame. Nate ran a hand over his mouth, exhaling sharply. Damn. I turned to Danny. How long? She blinked. What? How? Long. My voice was dangerously calm. Have you been screwing him behind my back? Her hands clenched into fists. It's not. Don't lie. She exhaled shakily. A few months. I nodded slowly, letting the knife twist deeper in my chest. Months. Nate looked down, suddenly finding his bare feet interesting. I let the silence stretch between us, let the weight of her words settle into the air. Then I chuckled under my breath, shaking my head. You really thought you'd get away with this? Danny hesitated. Her lips pressed together. It just happened. We never meant to. You booked a hotel, Danny. My voice dropped lower. You meant every bit of it. Her eyes welled up. Fake tears. Crocodile tears. I had spent years thinking those were real. Not anymore. I pocketed my phone, exhaling deeply. You know what? She swallowed. What? I'm not even mad. She blinked, startled. You're not. I smiled, a smile that wasn't meant for her. No, I said, because I'm done with you. The finality in my voice made her flinch. I turned to Nate, who looked like he wished he could evaporate into thin air. You too. I headed for the door. Danny took a shaky step forward. Wait, please. I paused in the doorway, and then, without turning back, I delivered the final blow. I'll be sending the divorce papers tonight. Silence. Then her sharp inhale. Oh, and Danny? She swallowed hard. Yeah. I smirked. Check your phone. I walked out, leaving her perfect little world in ruins behind me. I didn't look back. Not when Danny gasped. Not when Nate cursed under his breath. Not when I heard the frantic rustling behind me as she scrambled for her phone. Probably confirmed that I had done exactly what I said I would. I walked down that hallway with a steady stride, my heart hammering in my chest, but my mind clearer than it had been in months. No more second-guessing. No more doubts. I was free. The elevator door slid open, and I stepped inside, exhaling a slow, measured breath as I leaned against the cool metal walls. My reflection in the mirrored panel across from me looked different, hardened, like a man who had just been through war and walked out the other side alive. As the doors closed, I heard Danny's muffled voice from down the hall, rising in panic. Oh, my God! He actually sent it. Nate! He sent it to everyone. Nate's voice was lower, angrier. Calm down. We'll figure this out. I smirked as the elevator began its descent. No, Nate, you won't. The first wave of notifications hit my phone before I even reached the lobby. My plan had been simple. Gather evidence. Expose the truth. Walk away. No violence. No destruction. No messy scenes. Just cold, undeniable proof. And it had worked. As I pushed through the glass doors of the hotel, stepping out into the fresh afternoon air, my phone vibrated relentlessly. Texts, calls, unread messages piling up. The first one was from my brother, Elliot. Elliot, dude, what the hell is this? Then my best friend, Wes. Wes, tell me this isn't real. And the one that made my stomach drop, her mother, Margaret. I don't even have words. Call me. Now. I clenched my jaw, inhaling deeply before pocketing my phone. No rush. Let them all stew in it. Danny had spent months, maybe years, lying to me. Now, for the first time, she had an answer for it. By the time I got home, the entire situation had exploded. Friends, family, even mutual co-workers had seen the messages, heard the recording, and Danny, she was drowning in the wreckage. I barely had time to set my keys down before my phone rang again. Her. I let it ring. Then a voicemail. I hesitated for only a second before playing on speaker. Her voice came through, shaking, desperate. Please listen. I know you're hurt, but you didn't have to do this. I made a mistake, but we can talk. We can fix this. I love you. I scoffed, shaking my head. Love. That word meant nothing coming from her lips. Another call. Another voicemail. This time, her voice cracked with something closer to fear. You don't understand what you've done. My parents saw this. My boss. A sharp inhale. Please call me back. Don't ruin me like this. I deleted it. She wasn't crying because she was sorry. She was crying because she got caught. And I wasn't going to save her. I sat down on the couch, finally letting myself relax for the first time in what felt like forever. The house felt mine again. No more lies polluting the air. No more tension curling in my stomach every time she checked her phone. The only thing left was the final nail in the coffin. I grabbed my laptop, pulling up the email draft I had prepared earlier. The divorce papers were attached, ready to be sent. A clean break. Before I hit send, I allowed myself one last moment to reflect. Did I feel regret? No. Did I feel pain? Absolutely. But beneath it, there was something else. Something liberating. I clicked send. And just like that, Danny was no longer my problem. The moment I hit send, a strange feeling washed over me. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. No more lies. No more second-guessing. No more waking up every morning wondering if the person beside me was who she claimed to be. Danny had lost the privilege of being in my life. And now, I was free. My phone continued buzzing throughout the evening. Messages pouring in from friends, co-workers, even some of her family members. Some were shocked. Some were furious. Some, to my surprise, were supportive. Wes, dude, I had a feeling something was off, but I never imagined this. Good for you. You deserve better. Elliot, proud of you, man. Seriously, most guys would have stayed in denial. You handled this like a boss. And then, the last one I expected, Margaret, I don't know what to say. I raise her better than this. I'm sorry. Truly, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate. That one surprised me, but I didn't dwell on it. I wasn't doing this for anyone's validation. I was doing it for me. The next few days felt surreal. The house was quieter, emptier, but not in a bad way. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was walking on eggshells. I didn't feel the need to check her phone, to wonder where she was going, to decipher the meaning behind every little thing. I was done with all of that. I focused on work, on hitting the gym, on reconnecting with people I had unintentionally distanced myself from during my marriage. And it felt good, better than I had expected. A week after the hotel incident, Wes convinced me to go out for drinks. I hesitated at first, but then I thought, why not? I deserve to celebrate this new chapter of my life. And that's when I met Lena. She wasn't like Danny. She didn't dominate the room with fake charm. She didn't act like every conversation was performance. She was real. We talked for hours, laughed over shared stories, bonded over the fact that neither of us were where we expected to be at this stage in life. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't thinking about Danny. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was ready to move on. As the night ended, Lena smiled at me, a real smile, one meant just for me. And this time, I smiled back because my life wasn't over. It was just beginning.